Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the SKHAFTINI session, Season 2, Episode 2, on navigating professional success, the path to GCC and ECSA professional registration. Before we start, a few webinar considerations. Attendees are reminded to ensure the volume is turned up on your device. Ensure you have a stable internet connection. This will ensure the streaming and audio will run smoothly. Attendees can ask questions via the questions panel located within the GoToWebinar control panel. By default, the control panel is located on the right-hand side of your screen. The chat function is reserved for webinar organizers and panelists to communicate with attendees. Attendees will not be able to chat with each other, however, are encouraged to ask questions. A recording of this webinar will be made available on the SAIEE YouTube channel, SAIEE TV, under the Central Gauteng Centre playlist. You will find the registration link in the chat box. Please register, it's free. A certificate of attendance will be a few days after this webinar. I'd like to introduce you now to our host, Mr. Keith Katiora, who is from the SAIEE Central Gauteng Centre, and he is a senior electrical engineer, advisor and project manager with a track record driving advancements in the energy sectors across Southern, Western and Eastern Africa. With expertise in renewable energy design and modeling, Keith has contributed to pioneering projects and new energy markets. Notable as the Outcome 3 Deputy Lead for the Southern African Energy Programme, Keith has played a pivotal role in improving regional harmonization. He is an energy advisor supporting the Just Energy Transition Investment Plan, promoting sustainable energy landscapes. Keith is part of the South African Institute of Electrical Engineers, the Central Gauteng Centre, managing the events and marketing portfolio. Over to you, Keith.
Good morning, everyone. I see that the attended list is growing, which is great. Just a few house rules before we kind of kick off, building up on what Minx has said. In the chat box, you will see that there's 3 links. So the first one is on how to become a SAIEE member. We would like new members within the organization, so please just check it out. And then there's also the SAIEE Training Academy, which will also help with some of the CPD course offerings, especially for your ECSA. Then the third one is the SAIEE TV channel on YouTube, which, like we say, that the recording for this event is going to be made public. And I think there's also now 2 PDF files in also the chat box. The first one is the Training Academy brochure. So please just look at that, especially for those that want to advance their skills. And then also the October issue of the What Now, which is the institution monthly publication that we sent out free to all of our members and other external stakeholders. So, like I said, thank you all for coming to our second episode of the SKHAFTINI session. So basically, the reason why we say SKHAFTINI is because a SKHAFTINI lunchbox, lunchtime discussion, we wanted to make some of the sessions very informal, very focused on ideas and knowledge sharing and lessons sharing. And for the past, I think, 3 years, we've been doing a number of these episodes. So I'm really chuffed about this one specifically. There's also someone that's aspiring to go the same route as some of our as our speakers. To introduce the first speaker, Minx, you can just pause. I'm really excited. The first one is Mr. Sicelo Mabuza. He's a former engineering manager, but more so now and just an engineering professional. He has a GCC factories and a PRA Eng with ECSA, and he also has a master's. And he has consistently demonstrated his commitment to the field. He embarked his journey with the SAIEE Central Gauteng Centre in 2019, where he also was the previous deputy chair, and he also held the position of deputy secretary within the committee, the Gauteng committee. His professional tenure has predominantly been with a globally recognized beverage corporation. If he likes, he'll tell you which company, where he fortunately he raised to the role of engineering manager. So it's going to be quite interesting, especially for those that are within the manufacturing sector, to kind of hear about his journey. Then the next one is Miss Mantsie Hlakudi. One of the most brilliant engineers that I personally call a friend. She's a chief engineer at Eskom within the asset management department. She has a GCC factories, PRA-Eng, a master's, and she's also a registered board member. She basically embodies a genuine commitment to the field, and this is showcased by her numerous awards and accolades. I would also like to just mention she's one of the former Rising Star winners within the energy space. In her career trajectory, she kind of showcases a dedication to advancing the industry's capabilities through her participation on global committees, recognizing, like I said, as a rising star within the country, amongst her peers within the energy sector, and also her commitment to community service. Her passion for mentorship, inspiring others, is evident in her role as the deputy chairperson of the SAIEE Women in Energy, and then also the SAIEE Central Gauteng Center, where she continuously promotes the development of future engineers and leaders. So I think for today, you all are in good hands. And yeah. So before we start, so the way we have done this presentation is that we have created a series of questions. And within those questions, we hoped that they would be able to address some of the other pre-questions that you guys might have delved into the call with. But if some of your questions don't get addressed, please feel free to take note of them, and then we'll have a short Q&A session for the speakers. We'll also link in their LinkedIn account so that you can always reach out to them. Yeah. And then I think to kind of kick off, I think the first question that I'll just throw it into both speakers is that, could you guys please then share your personal journeys within the engineering field, and please also highlight some key milestones, experiences, and influences that led you guys to your current roles. And then within your answers, we would also like to know about the early influences and also the educational journey that I've kind of mentioned, and then what that career progression looks like, and some of the inspirations that you have. So yeah, we can start.
Okay, no, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity, and good afternoon, everyone. Maybe just obviously for myself, this actually is very close to me, obviously, because of the fact that I think it's been over close to 20 years. I started working in 2003 when I started my first job. So obviously, while I do share this experience, it's important that I also do cover the experience which would be relevant for engineers as well as technicians or artisans or any engineering professional, basically, that are working at developing and getting these particular qualifications. So maybe just to also just kick it off in terms of how I became an electrical engineer. I grew up with my father working for a utility company, and what used to happen is he would, whenever there would be faults, he would take me through basically with him to attend to some faults. And in so doing as well, I got exposure to this particular profession, and that's where I picked up the passion. And from there on, when I completed my matric, I was clear in terms of wanting to pick up electrical engineering. So that's why I became a electrical professional. And just also to touch on early influences. So obviously, I studied initially when I started to get a BSc electrical engineering as well as MSc electrical engineering from the University of Cape Town. But I think what I can say was important is that at that early stage, when I was still doing my bachelor's degree, I was able to be exposed to certain institutions which also assisted in terms of getting networks and for me to know other electrical professions. Hence the reason why I would also want to encourage you all to even register with the South African Institute of Electrical Engineers, or whether it's even with ECSA. It is important that you register at an early stage. Don't do it later. It's easier for you to do it when you are still a student, and they do allow for that. And the different institutions are actually trying to encourage and make it easier for you. Obviously, we've had a look at the models and the costing. So do encourage you to register at an early stage, because you'll be able to build networks, but also you will have access to very important information, as well as papers and exposure to conferences, which can also assist you in terms of developing your particular career. I would also like to maybe share that it's very important that from a career point of view, getting qualifications is obviously an important step. Firstly, get your initial tertiary qualifications. Without the tertiary qualification, you can't move forward. However, once you start your career, it's not about what are the qualifications that you have. It is important that you understand that it's all about delivery. I had the first manager I came through when I started my career, which was with South African breweries. That's who I got my experience with, made it very clear for me. Your qualifications mean nothing. It's all about delivery. What will assist you in terms of progressing in your career and obviously moving up as your career progresses is for you to deliver. So in front of mind, qualifications are very important. You can't operate without them. And later on, some of the questions will touch on this and obviously the benefits that's linked with that. But it's important that you do highlight you ensure that you deliver in whatever you do. And then maybe probably the last aspect that I'd like to touch on, which is quite important in terms of inspirations. When I started my career, which was in 2003, I was lucky to get a manager who was very passionate in terms of developing. So every single, probably twice or three times a week, I would actually go to his office and we would go through sessions where we'd basically be preparing me to basically complete my experiential reports. But most importantly as well, because I was going through a traineeship, he would also want to make sure that I'm prepared, and he would basically develop me, point me out to certain areas that would assist in the development of my career. So I guess that those are the inspirations that I'd briefly like to talk on without spending too much time. I'll give Mantsie an opportunity to say something as well. Mantsie, are you there?
Yes, thank you, Sicelo, and thank you, Keith, and afternoon to our attendees. And in answering the questions, my passion for engineering, it really takes me back to the memories of my childhood. One day I was sitting under a tree. It was in 1995, still remember the year, without giving away my age. And I saw men wearing blue overalls electrifying our village. And my passion for electrical engineering, I would say that it was birthed by that experience. I saw how the electricity changed the quality of life in my community. And ever since then, I said to myself that I'd like to be an engineer that will ensure that everyone has electricity. And a bit about my educational journey. My educational journey was not an easy one. It has so many hurdles, but I will summarize it. I enrolled at UP for BE Electrical Engineering, and after 2 years, then I had to leave due to lack of funding to complete my degree. And after that, I applied to South African National Defence Force. When I applied, I got afforded an opportunity within the medical field. Wanting to be an engineer, but you get given an opportunity within the medical field. But I did not despair. And before that, I had to undergo military training within the South African Military Health Service. I did that. Upon completion, I then did the paramedic course, and I then did the nursing qualification. And while busy with the nursing qualification and also executing my nursing duty with diligence, passion, and excellence, one of my patients then afforded me an opportunity to then join the South African Navy. And when I joined the South African Navy as well, I had to undergo the naval training because it's different arms of service. And upon completion of my naval training or officers course, I then had to go to UCT to complete my BSc honors in electrical engineering. Following that, I worked in the Navy. After that, I joined ESCOM. In ESCOM, I move around. I guess I'm a mover. I don't stay that long in one department. I joined ESCOM, was in distribution, system ops, and now in transmission asset management. And along the routes, I did receive several accolades, which Keith, one of our trailblazers, has mentioned. The Accenture Rising Stars, the Best Naval Student in Engineering, the Millennial Leader, and several customer satisfaction awards. And in inspiration, one thing that I would like to share with you that I remember when I was in the South African Navy, one of my mentors, a retired old man, I approached him and I asked him to mentor me, and he said to me that, please go home, sleep on it, tell me why you want, what type of engineer you want to be. Came back the following day and I told him that I want to be an excellent engineer. And he said to me, why an excellent engineer? I said, I want to be the go-to person, just like you are, because I saw that everyone within the Navy was going to this to the old man when they had issues, when they had innovation, any idea. And then he said to me, no, there are three types of engineers. There's a good engineer, there's a best engineer, and a distinguished engineer. And he said a good engineer does all that is expected of them. And a best engineer saves the company money, while a distinguished engineer makes the company money. So ever since then, those words refuses to leave my mind. I always, whichever role, or even in voluntary associations, whatever that I'm involved in, I always ask myself what type of an employee or what type of engineer I would like to be. And I hope that you will take that home as part of your SKHAFTINI. You determine what type of engineer you like to be. And the last thing I want to share, he said to me, at the end of each and every week, actually every Friday, you need to write down 5 things that you have learned. And I believe that has carried me throughout my career. Even to date, I'm still doing that. I will stop that. Thank you.
No, thanks so much, guys. I think that's great. But I think for the sake of time, let's just move on to the next question. The next question is on the importance of the GCC and PRH. I think, in your opinion, why are GCC and the ECSA professional registration significant in the engineering industry? And how would you say they would shape an engineering professional's career? And then also, please just also highlight some of the doors that these qualifications have opened for you guys, and then the professional recognition that they have provided. Yeah.
Okay, great. No, thank you. I'll start off with the first bullet point, and I'll give Mantsie an opportunity with the rest. So interesting, as I mentioned earlier on, my career started in the manufacturing sector. So for the manufacturing sector, I think what is more relevant is the GCC qualification, because obviously you're working in a factories environment. What I'd like to share, and I'll also share my experience in terms of understanding the recognition that comes with PRH, because I also have experience with that. Once I completed my career within the manufacturing sector, I did also work in the consulting space, which is relevant to probably the ECSA professional registration. When I obviously, once I completed my traineeship working with the manufacturing company, after I had also been a section engineer, having the necessary experience, I was very much frustrated because I obviously wanted to progress. And in so doing, I had a very good, interesting general manager at the time where I was working, and he asked me the question, and he said to me, Sicelo, you're really not serious about your career. If you are serious about your career, you would pass the government ticket. Now, obviously, as challenging as it is, the failure rate, obviously, for all those that have participated in the government ticket would know that the failure rate is quite high. And it's quite a challenge, because I think the other challenge that's linked with it is that you actually have to do it while working, which is the tough part. And obviously, we'll touch a bit on that later. So for me, I think while what was important was once I had passed that exam, I quickly went back to the general manager and I told him I have passed the government ticket. Now, what are the opportunities that lie ahead? Obviously, for me, it gave me the power. Obviously, now that I had the government ticket, and at the time, obviously, there were not many engineers with a government ticket. It did create, obviously, influence and improve my CV in terms of what offering and obviously qualifications, because government ticket is more a competence confirmation. It's confirming that you're competent basically to be appointed as a GMR 2.1 as far as the occupational health and safety is concerned. As soon as I did not see that there was much movement within the company, obviously at the time, I went to see what was out there and so many opportunities availed themselves. And then when I went back to my company and I told them I found another opportunity, I'm leaving, they were quick to say, no, Sicelo will make an arrangement for you. And in so doing as well, I think it opened so many doors. I was able to work as an engineering manager in a number of the factories, obviously, in different parts of the country. It gave me different types of exposure. But most importantly as well, it also assisted me in terms of career progression and obviously moving on. From engineering professional registration, so once I had completed my stint and career stint as in the manufacturing sector, I also worked in the consulting space. Now in the consulting space, if you don't have a professional registration, it makes it very difficult. Obviously, the role that you play there is that you sign off document. As far as the Engineering Council is concerned, you obviously have a very important responsibility that you're putting to signature on certain designs that you actually participate in. Sign off as a professional engineer is very important. So I knew exactly that once I started the consulting space, the one qualification that definitely did support me, which is also recognized by the government, is the engineering ECSA professional registration. And that for me also opened up so many opportunities. A lot of clients, when you deal with them, they're very much interested to know that dealing with an engineering professional, yes. So I'll hand over to Mantsie to cover the remainder of the points. Thanks. Mantsie.
Thank you, Sicelo. And on that question, I just want to say that with the GCC and the professional engineer ECSA registration, if you really want to distinguish yourself from the crowd and really appear more attractive, you definitely need to put that peer range, peer technician, peer technology, or GCC. And I saw Keith has got the PMP and the CAM, after your name. And that instantly, it tells everyone, your employer, your community, or your client, that your competency and understanding of engineering principles, it has been independently assessed. It tells us that you have the skills, you have the knowledge, and you also have the attitude. In essence, it sets you apart. For GCC, as Stella already alluded, you become a GMR2 appointee that is responsible for providing supervision of machinery. So GCC opens that door. And mostly you need a certificated engineer. For instance, when the sum of your power generation exceeds 3,000 kilowatts. And again, whenever your demand exceeds 1,000 kVA, you will need just that GCC. So if you don't have the GCC, you cannot be appointed as a GMR2. So you will need that. That can provide a career advancement for you. Even with ECSA, for instance, in ESCOM, for you to be appointed as a P13, which is an entry junior level, you need to be a candidate engineer. And for you to move to a senior engineer, you must be a professional engineer. And to move from professional to chief as well, you need that professional engineer. But it does open up a lot of doors for you. And on global, I see our time is running away. And on global recognition, ECSA is part of the Washington Accord, and it has been a signatory since, I think, 1999. And this is just an agreement between bodies responsible for accrediting engineering degree programs. It affords us as South African engineer an opportunity to be able to be employable outside, and also affords us educational opportunities outside. So the other thing that I want to mention as well is involvement in the professional bodies such as SAIEE. this affords you an opportunity to be able to collaborate with others in the industries. Like it was through SAIEE that I met Sicelo, it was through SAIEE that I met Keith, and I met quite a number of you. So indeed, the GCC and the professional qualification, they do put you at a pedestal, they can advance your career. I think I'll stop there. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Minx, the next ones. I think with this next question, I would ask that we be a bit quicker so that at least we give some of the attendants some time to ask the questions. So I'm going to ask both questions and you guys can answer. One of you can take the other one and then the other one can answer the second one. Could you delve into the practical aspects of navigating the pathway to GCC and ECSA PRH? And what are some of the key steps in consideration that the engineering practitioners should keep in mind in their journey? So that's the first one. And then the fourth one is, drawing from your experience, can you share some challenges and hurdles you had to encounter? I think Mantsie, you've already touched a bit within your personal space and how you overcame some of these challenges. And what advice would you give others that are facing obstacles? I know for the GCC people, there's some people that are writing next week on Thursday, and there's always this misconception that it has a high failure rate and it's undoable, but at the end of the day, there are people that have done it, which is why you guys are here. So maybe to also touch on that for the attendees. Thank you.
All right. No, thank you, Keith. All right, I'll briefly touch on the pathway basically for GCC as well as registering to be a professional engineer. So I think what's important from a GCC point of view, there are a number of courses that are available for you to attend, which can assist you in terms of preparing for the GCC exam. And I think what's the beauty and the challenge that I faced when I wrote the GCC exams, obviously I got the factories qualification, is that obviously there's some aspects that I had been exposed to in my experience at working, but I'd never basically been taken through the theoretical aspect. So the courses, I know there are a couple of institutions that do offer those courses. Those I would really recommend that you do attend. At the time as well, obviously there was particular material that you can receive that can assist you, but looking at the material alone and studying alone is not necessarily, makes it difficult. It's easier if obviously you find out within your network who else is participating in terms of preparing for the GCC exams. It helps a lot because there's a lot of sharing that can be done amongst the colleagues. I had a very good experience with regards to that, and it helped me a lot because obviously you learn from each other. And some of my other colleagues as well were mechanical, so I was able to share a lot from the electrical space, and they were able to guide me on the mechanical space because ultimately the GCC exam is both electrical and mechanical to prove competency. So that is the one very briefly aspect I'd like to share. But I think what I'd also like to share, which is also quite important, especially when you become an engineering professional, is even from the university or tertiary institution that you're in, start by subscribing to the SAIEE. Obviously, we've got different chapters, student chapters that exist. Participate in those because they will increase your network so that you also get to learn and be able to get access to other colleagues. But most importantly as well, those institutions are able to offer mentors. So SAIEE is able to offer mentors to you when you do reach out to them, which can also assist you. From an ECSA point of view, register as a candidate as early as possible. And in so doing, there's a lot of good work that's happening around ECSA that can expose you and you can tap into the network so that at least you can get to know other engineers in your space. Just like Mantsie mentioned, I met quite a lot of other colleagues outside of my work environment or the university I went to. And it's through these institutions that I was able to do that. But I think what I'd also like to share, which is also very important, start documenting your experience from the moment you start working. Start capturing those experiential reports and save them because you will need them later. Because as you're doing that, you are able to build on your portfolio of evidence. Now, with these reports and the different stints that you go through, please make sure that you are able to get your supervisor, whoever's overseeing you at the time, to sign those experience reports. And I also experienced that after a very long time, I needed those experience reports. Luckily, I'd written them, but to try and track those supervisors, after such a long time, it becomes very difficult. So start building onto your portfolio of evidence earlier on, so that you have that file, you have that material, save it on the cloud. Later on, when you do apply to become a professional engineer, they'll be very relevant because ECSA will require them. I think I'll say that in a nutshell because obviously of time pressure and some of the questions that we need to go through. I'll leave the next question to Mantsie. Thank you.
Thank you. For me, the hurdles with the path to professional registration, firstly, it was the self-doubt. I delayed submitting my application because I believed I was not ready. Just know that you don't have to be a specialist in your field to be eligible to register. So register as soon as you can, as Stella has said. And then to overcome the self-doubt, what I did, I started understanding the basic requirements from the ECSA website and also engaging fellow engineers. The second hurdle or challenges for me, it was not working on the training and experience reports early in my career. So at some point when I started doing the training and the experience report, I had forgotten some details. I had to really go back and start to remind myself that I felt that was so difficult. So as already alluded, continuously work on the reports. Do not wait for the time you have to submit. The third one, it was when choosing the engineering report, especially to demonstrate the complex engineering problem. And that for me was quite a bit complex, but I managed to find fellow engineers that are familiar with the outcomes and they were able to assist me. So that is the advice that I can give you. And also reviewing your training and experience reports, please send it in parts. I would say don't just send the whole thing, because the people, the mentors, they are so busy. You might feel that you send it and then they take 6 months, they don't review it. That is some of the experience that I had. But then when I started sending it in parts, it worked because they could review, send back, and rectify until the whole package was ready. And for the GCC, for me, I got the study materials, I got the past papers, I studied wherever aspects that I did not understand. I would go on YouTube, or I'd also ask people in that particular industry, especially the mechanical part. I would also have talked to my mechanical engineer counterparts, and group work always assist, because there's something that you understand, the next person doesn't understand, there's something that you don't understand, the next person understands. So it usually assists. And all the best for those that are writing next week. It is doable, it is possible. I did it the first time and I passed both the first time. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I think let me just check how many questions we left with Minx. So that's next one. Okay, cool. I'm going to take that last one, question number 6, and then we'll go into the Q&A quickly. So for those that have questions, please just prepare them. So after obtaining your GCC and your PRH, people, we always wonder the practical implication. So what would be the advice that you would give for a lot of the people that want to attain this? Because I think one of the biggest motivation is the money aspect, right? But we always underwrite the responsibility that comes with some of this qualification, and also some of the ethical considerations that people tend to never consider when going this pathway. So yeah, guys, I think you can just be as quick as you can.
Okay, great. I think maybe just also to touch on it, we've touched on the technical aspects a lot. I think there's the other part to being an engineer, which is, or technician, or whatever engineering professional, is that we need to prepare ourselves to be all-round professionals. So safety is important. Finance is important. Leadership is important. It's important as well that you actually do go through the material that makes you an all-round person. Ultimately, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be put into a position where you have to lead an organization, lead a department. So it is important that as you're developing yourselves, and as part of the competency, or as part of the portfolio of evidence, it is important that you also are able to capture that. Now, from an ethical point of view, ethics are so important. If you look at the media and look at what's going through the media, and the roles that engineers play in ethics, it's critical. It's very important in terms of the roles that engineers play in the appointment of certain contractors, certain vendors, the role that they play in terms of sign-off, it puts you in a very important, responsible position. The role that you play in organization to ensure that people are safe. It's important that as you go through the work permits that basically confirm that area is safe before work is conducted, you take an ethical approach. It's important that you lead by example. So I just probably like to touch a bit on that in terms of the ethical considerations, but most importantly as well, the other important aspects where you would also supplement your career by attending some of those courses to make you an all-round person and to build you and develop you so that you can become a better engineer. And then maybe lastly, just some encouragement to the young engineers. I think if you just look at what's happening in the engineering space, there's so many exciting areas in the engineering space. And one way that you can develop yourselves is that you have to tap into the network. Tap into the network by making use of institutions like ECSA, institutions like SAIEE, so that at least you can get a network and know other colleagues. I mean, I've learned a lot with my colleagues at SAIEE, and they've also been able to provide some opportunities. They've also, obviously, as part of my passing of deemed as competent as a professional engineer, I tapped into the SAIEE network, who assisted me in terms of ensuring that I am able to complete the necessary reports here. So in summary, that's what I'd like to say, and good luck to everyone else who's writing and all those that are subscribing to become professional, whether engineers or technologists. Thank you so much. Yes, I'll give Mantsie an opportunity.
Thank you. I'll just summarize. On leadership opportunities, I will say they are galore. You can be an engineering manager like Sicelo was, your corporate specialist, you name them. But with the leadership, as Sicelo alluded, you have to be an all-rounder. You need both soft skills, hard skills. Hard skills are your technical training, but your soft skills include your leadership and your communication. Those are key, very critical. And in conclusion, contributing to the field, I would say that be an engineering profession ambassador. Share about how you got into engineering like we did today, and also share with your communities on how our profession is contributing to its health, its happiness, and its safety. And also encourage more students to be part of our profession. And lastly, brighten the corner where you are. Let your work and involvement shine so bright. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. No, this was really great. And I think we want to just quickly get some questions from the audience. Please just use, I think you can use the chat box. I'll just keep an eye on any question that the people might have. And I think, yeah, especially for those that are writing next week, please also ask some advice that you might want from the speakers.
Keith, we have a few questions in the questions panel.
Okay, let me just check them out now. How do I? Okay, just 1 second. Okay, perfect. Okay, so the first question is, I'm unsure about my eligibility as an EIT at the DMRIE, as I have an N6 in GCC subjects and a trade test in mechanical fitter from MESITA. I do not have any mining experience. Can I still apply, and will my application be accepted? I don't know who would be able to answer or would have experience in this.
Yeah, I'm happy to come in here.
Okay, cool, perfect.
All right. I think in terms of the requirements, I think it's important that you actually apply to the department. I can talk for GCC, to the Department of Labor, where basically there's an inspector you can apply to, and they can basically guide you in terms of if you have the necessary experience. It all depends. Obviously, I've just seen a part of your qualifications, but obviously they are able to assess in terms of what would your requirements be, and they are able to give you good feedback in terms of whether you meet the requirements or not. If there's certain courses you need to apply or still go through, they are also able to share with you. Ultimately, they make the final call. I think I'm able to share that from my experience there. Thank you.
Okay. And then the second question is, may you please share from your experience, how do you clear the blurred line between safety, health, environmental and quality department and the GCC role? I don't know who can answer that one.
Happy to come in, but Mantsie, I can give Mantsie a chance if she, so at least she can also say something. Happy to come in after.
No, you can come in, it's fine.
Okay, yeah, so I think what is important is that when you get appointed, for example, if you've got GCC as a GMR 2.1, different departments play a very important role. So for example, when it comes to health, obviously when you have a look at the Occupational Health and Safety Acts, there's certain aspects around health that are important that we need to make sure that are met before in order for the organization to operate in a way that would be meet the requirements as far as the regulations are concerned. So for example, medicals play an important role just to understand if are we exposing our people to certain diseases or certain aspects within the factory that can impact their health. From a quality point of view, the quality department has a very big role to play even in the different departments, but also from a safety point of view, they're able to pick up if there's any aspects linked to quality or, for example, the maintenance that is being carried out, the different requirements that would have to be met. So I think more in general, and maybe in summary, we would, each and every role has got a role to play, but you yourself as the appointed person have to make sure that all the departments are doing what is necessary to create that safe environment for everyone that is working in the operation. But at the same time, you'd also be the lead when it comes to ensuring that from a reliability point of view, which normally is associated with the engineering managers who are appointed as GMR 2.1.
Perfect. And then I'll take 3 more, and then the rest we'll post the responses on our social media, hopefully by the end of the week. So the first one, I'll combine it. It says, which one of the 2 would you advise a person to go first? And then in terms of postgraduate, would you say that it's necessary to get a master's degree if someone is considering managerial roles in the future?
Okay, for me, okay, I just want to hear that I understand the question. They're asking which one should they take first between the PRH and the GCC?
Yes, yes.
Okay, for me, it depends on our answer. It depends on your experience. Remember, for you to qualify for your PRH, you need from minimum is 3 years, but mostly you find that we qualify from 5, the 5th year. And when it comes to GCC as well, you require a certain number of experience. And I would say depending on the experience that you've acquired, and when you review the requirements, whichever one that you feel that you are meeting the requirements, you can start with that. I started with the professional engineering because it had for me to move, to be promoted rather, I needed the profession to be promoted to senior engineer. I needed the professional engineering. Then I did the GCC as well. If there was a position as well, maybe within a generation in our space in ESCOM, I would need the GMR. I mean, if I had to apply for the GMR 2 position, then I would need the GCC. But for me, I would answer you that it depends on the requirements that you're meeting at that particular time. Thanks.
Maybe
And the
just
other
also
one?
to add.
Yes.
Okay, maybe just also to add, it also depends on the industry that you're in. So for example, if you're in the manufacturing space, depending on your role, GCC is more relevant because obviously in a factory's environment, and obviously there's huge compliance requirements that are linked with occupational health and safety, And generally, the manufacturing companies will be interested to have their people internally to have basically the GCC qualification. However, obviously if you're not in the manufacturing space, or if you're in the consulting space, the engineering, the professional registration is more important, because obviously that is what is used to basically sign off certain designs. And that is my experience as well. I started off with the GCC. I actually at the time did not have much interest in the registering as a professional engineer, because my company did not recognize it. But what they were very interested in is for us to become competent engineers as far as the GCC is concerned, and to pass the practical as well as the law exam. But when I moved on to the consulting space, the professional registration became very important for me. And it's through institutions like SAIEE that assisted me to be able to tap into the network that I have, which helped me to submit all the necessary reports, because some of the professionals that you find there are involved and are reviewers at ECSA, which even helped me even better, because I was able to get more information with regards to the requirements.
Perfect. No, I think, yeah, thanks, guys. I think, like we said, the rest of the other questions we definitely will be posting on our social media to answer you guys. But this is, I don't want to say this is the end of it. So please follow Sicelo, Mantsie, or myself on LinkedIn. And then if you have any other questions, or if you want to know more about how institutions like SAIEE can help, we'll definitely then be able to link you up with the right people. And I think the key takeaways here is that know the industry that you're in, get a mentor that is invested either in your company or within the spaces such as SAIEE, someone who will be able to advise you, and then network does help a long way. I know we see that engineers are not what you call social people, but networking does go a long way. And then I think the other thing is, yes, GCC is hard, so they say, but there are people that have passed it first time, and it's doable. Know that it's also a community effort in terms of getting assistance out there. I think I'll just take one last word from each speaker, and then we'll close the webinar. Thank you. I'll start with Sicelo. Just one last takeaway, then we'll close out.
Yeah, I think one last takeaway is, I think as engineering professionals, I'd like to view it as there's so much opportunities. There's a big role that we can play in the communities, and also in the different industries that we're involved in. Also play a big role in terms of helping to find engineering solutions for our country. I think what is very important is that we are able to network. When we network, we must be obviously subscribed to the different institutions. I can't really call myself an electrical engineer if I don't network with other engineers to know what are the current trends. So there's a lot of opportunities, there's a lot of exposures that are linked with South African Institute of Electrical Engineers, including ECSA themselves. So participate in the different forums that are there, register as a member of the SAIEE, or participate in terms of trying to subscribe to be a professional engineer. And then obviously there's a whole lot of opportunities that would be there to basically take us forward and for us to participate in our different communities. Thank you.
Mantsie?
Thank you. For me, I'd leave you with the words that were once said by Bill Gates. He says that Africa remains on the same page while the rest of the world's pages, they keep turning. So I just want to encourage you in your own sphere, make a difference, serve, and ensure that South Africa and Africa keeps turning the pages with the rest of the world. We as engineers, we do solve problems, we have the solutions to the problems, but in us solving those problems, we need to take into account all aspects, your social aspect, your environmental aspects, and your financial aspects. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think with that being said, I think thank you for all joining. Like I said, this should not be the end of the discussion. For those that are writing next week, the GCC, good luck. And for those that are considering writing, we did attach there some useful companies and organizations that you can also reach out to. Polocraft, Poch College, who can also give you some information. And then with regards to ECSA, you can obviously go onto the ECSA website, or you can send us a message on LinkedIn, either us or the SAIEE page. They should be able to also give you any type of information that you want to know. Thank you all, and have a lovely day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.